So a Thursday AM trade recap. Went into the session, overall I was more bullish on price, but I wasn't quite sure if we wanted to come back into the equilibrium of the range. This is around 8:30 open. Wasn't quite sure if we wanted to come into equilibrium of the range or if we wanted to go lower, higher, etc., etc. Standard deviation didn't really give me much. Coming into 8:30, price hadn't done much. The significant thing was, of course, we go into the 8:30 open, and we have this massive sell-off. Once we have this, I was quite curious to what. My first trade was a bit after 8:30. What I did see here is I saw this massive sell-off here. I saw this coming up into here. I saw the equilibrium in the range just looked like an obvious draw. Price was clearly heading there, wanted to rebalance that range. You had a very bearish candle. Price was very trendy, so it kind of made sense that it wanted to go lower. I saw this 1 minute fair value gap opened, and I looked for a 15 second or even I think it was a 30-second CISD in this case. Yeah, I looked for a retest back into the 1 minute fair value. It's kind of, I've taken this setup almost like 3 times this week. Once you've seen a massive bearish sell off, and then you're looking for that CISD for that second move down. So took an entry here, short there, and I took it off around equilibrium in the range. So first trade, maybe 25 points ish. Just a really simple trade there. Waited for the tap in bearish fair value or 1 minute fair value. Had a tight stop ish. Trade was around 1-to-1 in this case, but it worked really nicely. So in this moment here, I was bearish. Coming into the session, I was kind of unsure on what price wanted to do. We had this massive sell-off here, but when it came into the range, I wasn't quite sure if price wanted to rebalance back up to these highs or if it wanted to go lower. So I wasn't quite sure if price was bearish or bullish. The one thing that I did kind of tell me to be bullish was we would already back down into, well, we were in daily fair value, we rebalanced the equilibrium in the range, and of course the standard deviations kind of said we're overextended from the midnight open. So it's kind of these things kind of hinted towards price wanting to go higher. Once we came into the session, didn't take anything pretty much. Once I saw this strong expansion higher, I saw price was inversing bearish fair value, 1 minute inverse fair value gap in this case. I was bullish. Essentially, I want to see some sort of retest in this little fair value gap here for maybe another 15-second or 30-second CISD setup. Once we did come into it, I didn't get that setup to go long or short. Never came into there. I wasn't quite happy with anything around here. It did look for one other trade in the session. What I did see after this was price came into this price kind of, I was looking for kind of a manipulation leg down for higher prices. What I did see was this this kind of manipulation move back down. I wasn't quite sure if it was the move higher. Essentially, I wanted price to come and deliver into some sort of fair value. I think you had 5 minute fair value. I think you were going to have 15 minute fair value down there. So I was looking for some sort of long entry for price to deliver in here. I believe I did take the long around 9:15. I think I did take a long here. I think I cut it off break even though eventually, once it made this movement higher and came down eventually. I was bullish, and I did like these relative to equal highs that was setting up here. I want to see price kind of make that new leg higher. I just didn't like the relative equal lows that we formed or any of that. I did like price being bullish, and maybe I should have just held this one and let it run. But eventually we don't really get much, honestly. That was a break even. Eventually we do run higher, but I just didn't like the delivery. I would have been more comfortable to take this setup if we took these kind of lows here instead. We kind of just generated and generated liquidity down here. Eventually I do believe we eventually go higher. Honestly, that trade probably would have worked if you left your stop down there. And you let it run to up there. But once we came into it, I didn't like it. What I did see is I already turned off the screen. Once I took that break even, I was done for the day. But what I did like is I did like this inverse fair value gap setup that forms around 11 AM for a short. This kind of made sense to me. Came into time, bearish inverse fair value gap, taking sell side, and you have relative equal lows below. That actually looks clean to me when I look at it. But two setups. First one, really nice setup. Just traded with trends. Second one, kind of was a nice idea. It went with trends, but I just didn't like where we were executing or what had happened before the trade. But yep, that's the session.